Right, the next item on the agenda is the capital program year-end performance report. Welcome.
Morena, good morning. So once again, this is a report usually targeted at F&P, but pleased to just summarise some key points today. And I'll just start with some of the headline figures. They've been alluded to by previous presenters, but the total expenditure for the core and external funding achieved was 76% of the financial year budget. And we saw quite a significant uplift of that in the last quarter of the financial year. So there was quite a dip through January to March, but some more positive signs evident in that last quarter of our financial year. Total program expenditure was 71% of the budget. That's bringing in the two big major facilities. So, as has been alluded to by others, I think a pretty commendable effort under the circumstances that we were facing throughout the year with COVID and European conflicts. And I think it's the latter that's starting to weigh a bit more heavily on forward projections and escalation provisions. Hopefully, with the worst of the pandemic perhaps starting to be behind us. This second point I wanted to make, and Russell and Bruce have just been talking about it, the net carry forward of 174 million, and that's been detailed in the previous report in that schedule that was just referred to. Also, I'd just like to point out that the change request process that the PMO oversees and manages has been reported to most recently on the 26th of July, summarising those change requests for the last quarter, and will continue to be reported in future committees or settings to keep a really close eye on the changes to budget and the cost pressures that we might be facing with changes there. So I've attached a detailed report with each of the service areas outlined as I've done previously. I steered away this time from the detailed attachment watch lists and so forth because I wanted to keep it a bit of a higher level at year-end view. And I suppose the last sort of comment I want to make, which has been alluded to a couple of times, and I will say I'm no economist, and a bit like Peter Ryan, my colleague, if I knew everything about this, I probably wouldn't be sitting here either. So I've been making my fortune out in the world economic markets. But I've taken some advice recently and done some reading on escalation projections and made reference in this report to some of the documents that I'm looking at there. Also talking to the financial colleagues, looking at the NZIER indices and such like. There's certainly a bit more to go, I think, based on all those sort of indices and signals around further escalation pressures. But projections do sort of suggest that perhaps we get over the hump of them in the next 6 months or so, and towards the back end of 23 and into 24, they might return to levels that you might call a bit more normalised, in and around 4 or 5% on an annualised basis. Currently, year on year, the percentage increases are up around 8, 9 and towards 10% year on year in the construction sector. They do vary across regions. They do vary across the type of construction too, vertical and horizontal. So there's a number of sort of factors to take into account there. But certainly we're keeping an eye on them. And so what does it mean to us in the PMO? It's keeping a close eye on the level and consistency of project contingency provisions. And as part of our role is to keep a close eye on that. And there's more work to do in that area. Also just keeping a close eye on that forecast versus spend to ensure the adequacy of the budget is there to achieve the commitments in the plan. And we'll be looking, I suppose, at things about how to provision for that if we need to across project level or total program or group level. So certainly a little bit more work to do around that with colleagues in finance and procurement, because the types of forms of contract can sometimes dictate that response from contractors about level of risk that they might want to price in. So definitely more thinking to be done around that, and planning in annual plan and LTP processes. The fiscal policy makes provisions for escalations in any case, as you know, but I guess the question, challenge is the adequacy of them in the current environment. And I suppose just finishing, as many economists and forecasters say, whatever value we might land on or percentage increase we might arrive at, we're probably most likely to be wrong anyway, because it's fraught with difficulty and pretty volatile sort of area. So yeah, happy to take questions further on the paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. That was an excellent presentation into the report, and a very useful summary for councillors to reflect on as they ask their questions. So, Yanni, did you?
Yeah, I was just looking at the IT, the digital budgets, and the excess water use IT project is 226%. So does that mean it's gone over what we budgeted by considerable amount?
There would have been a bring back in order to support that with more work achieved than what was in the plan. Yeah.
But they've actually done.
So they've done it quicker.
Yeah.
To get it in place.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's
that's cool.
bring forward rather than
a bring
carry forward. No.
Back.
Yeah, bring back rather than carry forward.
Yeah, sure. And
opposite of carry forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, I guess, just a little bit concerned about all the different IT work streams and really getting a sense of the money that we're spending versus the benefit that we're getting, and particularly around things that have been delayed. So, like the customer experience platform. Yeah, I don't know. Is there any sort of digital strategy that we have as an organisation where we can see what the priorities are and what the goals are in terms of
the customer experience one will be coming back up. I had an update on it the other day, and it's still you know, and it's not they haven't built the capability yet, but they've absolutely got the right approach, and now the architecture in place to actually deliver an incredible customer experience. So it is so far more advanced than, you know, I mean, the fact that it started as a smart city program in 2016. This was a big thing that the council before this one really wanted to invest in.
Sure. So it says in the report, bundle style projects are made up of backlog of tasks and work is completed when resources are available, not working on higher priority items. And I mean, at our community board, we heard yesterday that we're possibly developing our own Snap Send Solve application, and I think some members were a bit sort of surprised to hear that.
No, that's not the case.
We need to understand what's going on. So Leah's come to the table.
So just a couple of things just to answer Councillor Hunt's question in regards to the digital strategy. Absolutely, there is the digital strategy, a very comprehensive one. You are correct, we have got 4 programs on the go, as well as our business as usual, which we are currently working on. Each of them have different areas, and we have had 2 of them have had program managers put in place for the last year and are quite advanced, which is the Modern Workplace program, as well as the SAP improvement program, and you'll be aware that the finance first major stage of the finance one went live on the 1st of July. So there's a significant amount of work that has been happening under those programs. The Digital Citizen Experience program has now got a program manager. Work has been going on, and they've been doing extensive work, but now we have actually managed to engage a very talented program manager to actually keep progressing on that. And then the other one we have had started in the last 2 weeks, I think it was the Employee Experience program. So these all link absolutely directly into the digital strategy, and there's some significant work going on, but they are big programs and they do take time. They are not six monthly programs. In regards to your question, in regards to the Send, Snap and Solve, no, we're not replacing that app, but what we are doing is looking at a citizen app that will incorporate that as well. But so it's not going to be replaced, but there we are looking at an app that incorporates not just that. There's a lot of work going on, and we will bring back briefings for the council to get you up to date with where things are at.
And just to add to that, and I can't recall the figures off the top of my head, but our ICT programme in capital terms has consistently underperformed significantly. This year it's actually delivered at 96%. So there has been a real uplift in delivery and concentration.
Is not so much on the spend, but on the outcomes that we get from the spend. Yeah.
Unless we are actually delivering, if you're delivering at 50%, you're never going to get to the outcomes. That's the point. You've got to get the baseline right and get the programmes in, which is the work that Leah is leading.
And then I just wanted to kind of understand, with like all the pressures that we've got as an organisation, you know, the cost, the supply chain, demand on resource, how are we prioritising within the organisation over what gets done and what gets delayed?
Through the annual plan and LTP process are the main forums for that, and then I imagine you would also be seeing further detail in some delivery packages that would get presented to you in briefings and such like. So it's primarily through the annual planning processing.
Right. So do annual plan projects leapfrog pre-existing projects?
No.
I don't think so, no.
So, I mean, as you'll be aware, because we do report monthly on all of these programs, especially with projects, we have different processes as we're going through. This is what our heads of and ELT are doing every day. I think you need to be very clear about the environment that we've all been working on in the last year, which is what you've highlighted. So there's extensive work going on in all the programs and programs. But if there's any changes to a program or a project significantly, we've got the processes that we bring that back through this process. What Andrew is talking about is the formal priorities in regards to anything significant that's changing to a program or a project goes through the annual plan process.
Right, but if you've got, like, say, 3 transport traffic programmers, you know, and you've got one down because of COVID, and you've still got the same amount of work that we've asked you to do, you have to make some decisions about what you progress and what you don't. Is there a process by which you're looking at projects that are just going to get put on hold because they're not as important as other ones? Like, I mean, this has kind of been raised, I think, since we started getting the feedback that cost escalation plus shortage of resource to deliver, whether it's supply chain or human resource, but I'm still not quite clear like what we've done as an organisation, like how we're prioritising.
If you've got a specific project that you're going to need to send that through, and we will be able to answer the specific question if it's something specific, but the processes have been very clear right through with council and about when significant changes are made. But if you've got a specific concern about something that a project, then you need to send that through and we can address that.
Right. And I've kind of signalled that about CRAF. So we've had the kind of update in here, and it says CRAF works are being advanced. The last report we got was saying that there's a risk of delay. So I'm really keen for the CRAF projects not to be delayed. So I don't know whether we need a specific resolution to get a briefing on the delivery.
So you sent through a question on that, Councillor, and last night.
Sorry, just to be clear, there was the previous time we had this report, I think probably 2 months ago, we raised it then because we got told that there was a risk around delivery of the CRAF, and so we asked for advice then around the delivery, how to accelerate the delivery or not let it slip, but we haven't had that advice. So although I put the question in last night, it was to follow up the question that had previously been asked on it.
Yanni, the question is not able to be answered at this meeting, and I thought it was relatively clear that that was the case, but your question is being processed, and all councillors will receive a copy of the reply.
Right.
Thank you.
Great. So just the final question is, what degree of confidence do we have in the CRAF program now once the things have been signed off for its delivery?
Lynette's going to go.
Lynette's answer.
Thank you, Lynette. Good to see you.
That's what's reported.
Yeah, the CRAF program, once it has been approved by the community boards, will progress as per what's agreed by the community boards. to make a note on the prioritisation of work, that's the job that myself, my managers and our teams do every day to deliver the priorities that you've set in the annual plan and the long-term plan, as Leah and Andrew pointed out. So we do that every day. We will deliver the CREF program. We will provide you with a realistic, as we have, with a realistic delivery program. That might be an uncomfortable delivery program right at the moment because we are facing resourcing challenges. So we'll deliver it.
Could I just follow up with another question, which is in relation to because obviously Treasury is interested in the CRAF project, but I'd be really interested in knowing whether you've had any discussions with them about progress and reporting frameworks.
So recently, it was about a month ago, we've been talking to Treasury and representatives from Treasury. We reported to them exactly where we were at with CRAF and with the program, and I will forward that through to you this afternoon. But and they had no concerns.
Right, and so could that be shared with local MPs as well?
I'll forward that through by the Office of the CE.
I think that would be helpful so that they can have confidence. And just the only other question I wanted to ask was on page. Sorry, I can't find the page numbers on the thing. It was just around the chip seal costs. So we just in the Transport and Waste Management financial commentary, it just said staff had anticipated May and June FY 2020 actuals to increase due to COVID resourcing issues beginning to ease and historic chip seal costs being costed to the correct projects. I was wondering if you could just help me sort of understand. I was just a little bit confused. Are you saying that we've miscalculated?
There was just some miscoding that was resorted.
Okay.
But we also got, as a program, we got very, very, very hard hit in the last 12 months by weather. We actually had a reasonably wet summer.
Yeah.
So February, March was quite wet, and then we've had slightly wet winter.
But the chip seal cost has gone up quite dramatically in the last...
Chip seal cost? The amount we're doing... So the budget amount has gone up, yes, and that's in order
because
to address the amount that we're trying to do. Yes.
Right, not the actual cost of the chip seal itself. Okay, thanks.
All right, do I have a mover for the resolution? Andrew? And seconded by Mike Davidson. Any discussion? Put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Lynette. Thank you, Leah. And thank you, Andrew, very much for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, the next item on